When the Conservatives start sounding like Reform UK, you know things have gone off the rails for them. Suddenly, free speech isn't about protecting debate, it's a weapon. And the timing isn't random. With Reform eating away at their right flank, the Tories have decided their best response isn't policy, it's just going to be more copycat rhetoric.
But the point is that we have a crisis of free speech in this country, and in particular as it relates to how we discuss religion, and in particular how we discuss Islam. Because we either have street protests with the threat of violence in response to things like movies that are released or teachers teaching certain subjects such as blasphemy in school. But we also have political campaigns and legal campaigns to try to restrict what can and can't be said about religious ideas. Now, 2 people this year have been arrested and charged for desecrating the Quran and saying things that are offensive to Muslims in public as part of their protests. Now, I don't think that behaviour is especially polite or nice, but I also know that it isn't illegal. And prosecutors have used the Public Order Act 1986 inappropriately to prosecute these people for causing offence. Fortunately, in one of those cases, after Hamid Choskan was found guilty in his appeal, the judge sided with him and made very clear that we don't have blasphemy laws in this country.
Now, listen carefully here, because this isn't original. The crisis of free speech line. That's Reform UK's bread and butter. It's the same pitch that Richard Tice and Nigel Farage have been making for months. The Tories have just decided to pinch it and repackage it as their own. And how do they frame it? With a claim that Islamists dominate the debate.
Here, and I think this is actually really important, because what we've seen in this country increasingly is that all kinds of public debate about Islam and Muslims are dominated by Islamists and not by normal, mainstream, perfectly moderate Muslim people who just, like the rest of us, want to get on with their lives, go out to work and raise their families. So actually the responsible thing to do is to take this head on, because the state has been far too passive for too long.
And again, it's an argument that you will make, but are you reaching out to this descriptive group that you're saying that that you want to bring into the fold? Because as you will know, the argument against this kind of rhetoric is that it's just divisive.
Well, look, you often hear this language, right? It's divisive, therefore you shouldn't say it. The truth is we are already divided. We're divided because Islamists and extremists want to dominate the way this country talks about and thinks about Islam and the Muslims who live here. And I think that's wrong. When I say the state has been too passive, we've let extremists decide where the line is between what's acceptable and what's not.
As if entire communities are being silenced and only the Conservatives can bravely step in. But notice the sleight of hand. They're not actually defending free speech. They're creating an enemy to rail against. But this is just another latest in the long line of culture war enemies. Last year it was migrants. Before that, trans people, woke universities, protesters, even the BBC. Whenever the Conservatives run out of answers, they just pick a new target and call it a crisis.
Which is that I respect your ability to lead your life as you choose, but you've got to respect mine too. If you're on the right side of that line, we'll back you to the hilt. And if you're on the wrong side of that line, we will come down on you like a ton of bricks.
Be very careful in your language, but you'll know that it will be heard that you are being very critical of the Muslim community right now with this idea, this sense of an othering of the Muslim community and maybe an undercurrent of danger from that community.
Not at all, and I don't really understand these terms like othering and things like that. I think well, look, I think your question is and I know it's not your view. You're asking a question on behalf of a particular perspective, but this is exactly what's wrong with how we talk about these issues. If you try to talk openly and freely about undoubted social problems that exist in this country, you are immediately accused of bad faith. That's not what's going on at all. My words will stand for themselves, but we have a crisis in free speech in this country, and we need to do something about it.
I'm sorry.
Sky News actually tried to push back, asking whether this kind of rhetoric is divisive, and the response is we're already divided, which basically means that we're not dividing people, we're just pointing out the cracks and then making them wider. It's the exact Reform playbook. Copy the language, double down on division, and call it free speech. Funniest part, they dress this up as treating everyone equally, except it's not equal at all, because when you constantly single out one faith in your speeches, you're not defending free speech, you're othering people while claiming not to know what othering means. So let's just be honest, this isn't about free speech, it's about the Conservatives panicking as reform creeps up on them and basically just smashes them into the ground, and trying to sound tough by parroting reform's talking points. Basically, if you want to know what the Conservatives are talking about, just look at what reform were talking about last week. All they're really doing is just copying somebody else's homework, not setting themselves apart, and just becoming reform light. And yet they don't need to do this. Reform's flagship council is already imploding, 4 members already losing the whip for a meeting that was leaked over the weekend, which you can see in the video that's on screen now. Thanks for watching, don't forget to hit that like button, and I'll see you next time.